So today we're going to be talking about power and how it relates to a subjective and objective human mindset. We'll be viewing this subject of power through the lens of two texts, The Souls of Black Folk by W.E.B. Du Bois and A Tempest by Aimé Césaire. In each text, there are the oppressed and the oppressors. We'll be focusing on the mindsets of one character from each text that is oppressed, Caliban from A Tempest and John from The Souls of Black Folk. Additionally, we're going to throw in the classic cliché American high school example of a nerd being bullied by a jock. Let's look at the mindset of each of these three characters when they are first presented to us. The white folk of Altamaha voted John a good boy. Fine plowhand, good in the rice fields, handy everywhere, and always good-natured and respectful. I'm going to have a few words with Master Caliban. I've been keeping my eye on him and he's getting a little too emancipated. Hey nerd, get your nose out of that book. The overlying trait that all three of these examples share is that each character that is being held under power is initially defined by those that hold power over them. Resultingly, each of our oppressed characters begin in a world where they are forced into an objective mindset. The parameters of their life are decided for them and they are forced to accept their life as it is. They're forced to accept their life. This is where the paths of Caliban and John diverge. John was born into a world that was defined for him by white people, so he does not recognize the power being held over him. Caliban tells Prospero that you didn't teach me a thing, except to jabber in your own language so that I could understand your orders. And as for your learning, did you ever impart any of that to me? No, you took care not to. All your science you keep for yourself alone in those big books. Caliban realizes Prospero is holding power over him by keeping some parts of his mind out of the understanding of Caliban. Despite his lack of knowledge of being held under power, John goes to college in the North, and through his schooling with predominantly white people, he comes to learn how their minds work. And he first noticed now the oppression that did not seem oppression before. Similarly, the nerd has tried to discover how the jock thinks. At this point, John and the nerd both know how the minds of their oppressors work, and so they know how their oppressors intend to hold power over them. They have reached a new subjective mindset where they can understand the thoughts of their oppressors, and so their oppressors cannot control their minds anymore, because they can interpret the oppressor's mind for themselves. Caliban lags behind, however, in understanding the mind of Prospero because he never does get to his books. And so when he finally confronts Prospero, Prospero tells him, "See, you're nothing but an animal. You don't know how to kill." And Caliban responds, "Defend yourself. I'm not a murderer." Even though Caliban is physically stronger than Prospero, Prospero still has control over Caliban's mind, and this is evidenced by the fact that Prospero dictates Caliban's mindset. He tells Caliban, "You don't know how to kill," and Caliban immediately internalizes that and responds, "I'm not a murderer." From one line to the next, we can see how Prospero continues to define Caliban's reality. Caliban does finally catch up to Prospero's mind game when he tells Prospero, "And you lied to me so much about the world, about myself, that you ended up by imposing on me an image of myself, underdeveloped, in your words, undercompetent. That's how you made me see myself, and I hate that image, and it's false. But now I know you, you old cancer, and I also know myself." Towards the end of his story, John kills a white man to defend his sister, and then says, "I'm going away. I'm going to be free." John knows there are white men coming to kill him, but he knows that because he understands their minds, and he thought for himself in choosing to kill the white man, despite his knowledge of the consequences. Just like Caliban, John knows his oppressors, and he knows himself. John and Caliban may be physically constrained, but they are mentally free. And the oppressors come to acknowledge their loss of power. For Prospero's part, he tells Caliban, "I hate you as well, for it is you who have made me doubt myself for the first time." "Hey man, I didn't know you could hoop too." We can see for both Caliban and the nerd that once the mental edge for the oppressor is lost, they no longer have the power to control the minds of the oppressed.